mean, that whole self-motivation is so important when you're working for yourself. And how do I even put forward to people like, okay, this is the only piece? I mean, and I just couldn't see beautiful fabric go away. Like initially, it was a challenge because I would go to people and they would just not give it away like just like that. Initially, when they used to also feel that we're working with ways, they used to feel a bit off.
Diti Mistry, a fashion communication alumni from NIFT Mumbai, is the creative force behind Diti, a brand that weaves art, sustainability, and storytelling into unique fashion and home accessories, employing local crafts and materials like reclaimed fabrics and wood. Since 2018, Diti has grown her brand with a focus on handcrafted quality and slow and mindful production. Hi, Diti. Welcome to our show. Thank you for being with us.
Hi, Kamsha. Thank you for having me.
So let's start with what is the story of your brand and what role does upcycling play in your as part of your brand ethos?
So, the idea of sustainability and upcycling started way back in 2014. It was my first internship in Oroville as a content writer at a fashion studio, and it was a slow fashion and sustainable fashion. And that's where I learned about fashion being a responsibility. I mean, till then, I was just buying, I would say, like, not so consciously, but I think when I was writing about it and reading, and I feel that whole conscious practice really came into being. I wanted to explore that space beyond my desk, and that's when I stepped into the whole production unit and I started picking up fabric. And I just couldn't see beautiful fabric go waste. And I picked it up and I started creating hair accessories. And I think that's when the whole idea of sustainability got seeded in my head in 2017. And I did my first exhibition, and it was received like very well, and it was really appreciated. And 3 years ago, we stepped into home decor, and we started with, I would say, brooches. Then we got into mask cushions, and now we are making these life-size totems, which are like these totem pillars. And now I'm also making them usable, like they're these art pieces, so you can separate them and sit on them as well. The whole idea is that you make art and sustainability part of your life. Over time, like the whole sustainability came into action. And like, for me, it was just not saving fabric, but also to employ people and support them, support the whole community of women and push them and inspire them every day. And now, like, we are this group of women who are just creating every day.
How many women do you employ today?
We are a group of 3 women who work directly with me. And these are 3 local women, but they're also part time boutique people and homemakers. And I work with 2 women enterprises who are a group of about 4 to 5 women.
So let's talk a little about the sourcing. Where do you source your fabrics from? And are you working with export houses? Where are you sourcing your raw materials from? And what are the challenges that you face while sourcing your raw materials?
So, not the export houses yet, but because my huge chunk comes from the local boutique stores. And a lot of people who are aware of my work, they really reach out to me and give out a lot of fabric they have waste. So, like initially, it was a challenge because I would go to people and they would just not give it away, like
Yeah.
just like that. I feel like somewhere we need a rapport, like, we give them work and then they kind of form a trust, and then they would be like, okay, we have some fabric for you, you can just take it. And but even then like they do feel a bit awkward, like they'll just give it to you, and when they'll see like me picking out fabric, they'll be like, no, no, this would be useful for us, even though it would be in such, like it would be kept in such a bad form. And yeah, but it's a challenge. But I think it's really taken years for my staff as well to kind of get um, used to that idea, and even kind of enjoy this idea that we're working with waste. Initially, when they used to also feel that we're working with waste, they used to feel a bit off, like because like this one staff, she comes from a boutique where they actually use a ready-made fabric.
So tell me, when you look at raw materials, what is your design process really like? Do you find the materials and then work backwards to design a product for that, or is it more like you have something in mind, you've sort of figured out, you've conceptualized a product and then you go looking out for materials? How does that work?
One way, like I would design a piece, like I would sketch it out, and then we would look for the color swatches, like what can go with what design. Or sometimes it's actually like I'm sitting with the fabric and the color palette starts to run in my head. So I would just cut these swatches and make combinations out of it. So during the pandemic, I did not have much fabric on me. And also, like the whole design inspiration was really not coming because a lot of my inspiration comes from travels. But I was really drawn towards animals, and I designed elephant piece. And that palette actually happened because of the fabric I received from a friend who was just discarding fabric which she had on her. And I was just sitting with that, and I was like, okay, this sits perfectly well with this design. And that was actually a pandemic piece because it was so limited, but we made it work. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I remember like when I was making the elephant piece, we created so many samples and so many of them did not work out. And then like we put down like the final one and like, okay, this was it. So yeah.
It's pretty much you're sort of sitting and coming up with the actual design, and
Yeah,
even in terms of samples, is that done by you?
yeah.
um
So like in the brooches, like I first create the sample. I do the like all the detailing things come in the sketches, but like all the sampling bit happens, and then I give it to the team, and I work with them because then the communication of how much detail to put in, that comes. When you're starting to work with the team, that's when you learn the whole communication part. Like, oh, you miss one detail and it'll just change the whole product look and everything. So even creating a whole pattern, everything. So for example, like when it is about the brooches, first we do the pattern making of the brooch, and then they do the structure of the brooch. Then it comes back to me. I do the illustration and the just the sketch part on it. Then it goes back to the team, and then they do the detailing of the brooch. Like they finish the whole pin. So that's how we go about it.
when you create one piece with that color palette, how do you then go on to producing multiple
Multiple.
pieces?
Sometimes it's not so possible. So the base is created using the handloom fabric, which I'm collecting from the weavers and the artisans. So that color palette stays, but the details which I'm collecting, so I'm again sourcing the fabric. So that keeps changing. And that I have to continuously put forward to my customers and my clients that one fabric, which I mean, even one piece which you've bought before, the second piece will not be the same. And that
Right.
communication has also happened over the years. I mean, I remember like back when I first created my first brooch, I remember like how do I even put forward to people like, okay, this is the only piece. I mean, but I feel like over the years people have now like they have that surprise thing in them, like, oh, I would be receiving something like different, and it's a surprise all the time.
And how do you come up with a price for your products? And also, I want to know a little about the response of the price as well. When you put out your products at a certain cost, do you
Yeah.
get the question that it's a lot of waste? Why is it so expensive?
Of course, I mean, like all the time. So I calculate everything. I'm calculating, the sourcing bit. I'm calculating the time I'm spending, the effort I'm spending, and the calculating of the people, like, the people who are creating the pieces. So, like, I do not cheap out on paying my my staff. When it comes to the bigger pieces, like my cushions, so we are using handloom fabric, so that cost is there, but of course the detailing is happening using the waste. But there is also a design cost which people usually just forget about. I mean, the kind of effort one is putting in just to think that the waste product you're looking at is not looking like a waste because of some reason. So
How did you kind of initially find your customers? Was it through exhibitions or was it through Instagram, online?
Exhibitions. I love interacting with people. I love when people actually like, because I feel like my products are so tactile. Like I want them to touch and feel everything. Because during the pandemic, that was the biggest challenge to keep everything afloat. Maybe because of my staff and my customers, I kept myself going through pandemic, because I remember first 3 months I was like, okay, great, had the perfect experience of building a brand, and I feel now I should just get back to a good 9 to 5 job or something more protected. But I remember that was this. It just took me one order to kind of just get back to restart the whole thing again, and give my staff work all over again. And
And also tell me, in the over the course of building your brand, have you ever been able to measure the kind of impact that you've been able to create in terms of how much textile have you been able to save from going through to the landfill?
I feel I've never really measured that. Like, I don't think so. I've ever measured it in kilos or something, or tons, like, how much textile I've really saved. I think I should start doing that now. I think next time I will be definitely measuring how many kilos I'm bringing.
And what is the one piece of advice that you would give to young entrepreneurs who want to start their sustainable brand?
Just being consistent in your practice and trusting yourself. And yeah, like no matter what happens, what comes, I think trusting your instincts really gets you, it keeps you going forward.
If you're at a job, you have the choice of showing up or not. But
Yeah.
when it's your own company, you have to bring your best to work every day because your team depends
Absolutely.
on it.
Yeah, like I feel like, I mean, that whole self motivation is so, so important when you're working for yourself. And then, like, I think in the end, because you have staff who is looking up to you, I feel like in the end, that's what you're working for.
What is your larger vision for your brand? Where do you see yourself maybe in 10 years?
10 years now. I think I would love to create a space. It's a space where we are just appreciating handcraftedness and sustainability. It's a space where you feel free.
All right. I think that brings us to the end of this conversation. Thank you so much, Diti. This was really fun.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you again for having me. It was really amazing chatting, and yeah.